It's cold. It's frozen. The southeast has become a Arctic wasteland. Maybe not down in Phil's neck of the woods, but in my neck of the woods, it certainly has.
Yeah, you didn't. I got to go like maybe 2 hours north to get the quote unquote Arctic wasteland.
I mean, it's enough.
I'm right in the middle there.
Yeah. Well, see, I just got back. I'm a little under the weather. Forgive me if I sound funky. I just got back from business trip to Vegas, and it was like 25 at night and like 45 during the day. I got the little got the black lung pop, but Anna Maria just got back from North Dakota, and she landed. It was like -4, so she had it cold for a week.
Can someone explain to me at what point can you not even tell how negative the negative temperature is? Like, there has to be a point to where you're like, it could be -40 right now. It could be -10. I don't know the difference. Like, there has to be a threshold to where you just can't even, like, you can't feel any colder than what you feel.
Yeah. Well, it's like my coworkers tell me he went to Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and like, I guess there's a famous lighthouse there, and at the right temps, the splashing of the tide on the lighthouse will make the like waves of the spikes of water freeze off the lighthouse.
Nice.
But the lighthouse has spikes. Yeah, super cool.
I don't know. Justin Olson sends me pictures of his car thermometer saying it's -14, and I'm like, I literally can't even wrap my head around how cold that feels. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume it's like hanging out.
I'm wondering, do we have any listeners who have been to Antarctica for like research or anything? Because I know, like, when you take a cruise to Antarctica, it's not like -400. You know what I mean? But like, there are people that live there, and all joking aside, it's like, I don't know, -60 Fahrenheit, something like that, or colder.
It's got to be like the opposite of when you burn yourself. Like, you get to the point where you get enough nerve damage, you can't even tell that you're burning anymore. Like, there has to be the opposite of that with cold, I would think.
Yeah, I think there's a certain point where you have to wear some kind of goggles, otherwise your tears like freeze to your eyeball, something like that. Yeah.
And there's sickos out there that are like, that is my dream job, to go live in that, to basically recreate the thing in real life with 5 other random people in Antarctica with no contact with anyone else, and we're all just gonna go freaking insane.
Yeah, but they get to see the Stargate program and we don't.
Doesn't sound all that worth it to me, man. I don't.
Not at those temps.
Pass. Yeah.
Yeah, hard pass. I got a buddy that lives up in Wisconsin, and he's right up near the Canadian border, and oh man, dude, temps up there are just, I mean, it's always like in negative degrees, you know. It's just, I don't know how you live with it. Then again, when he was down here in Florida for a while, for the winters and stuff, he complained how cold it was here when we get in the 40s and stuff in the Orlando area, because it just has like that humidity is still there, so it does have like a rawness to it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we're at. Is it's like 29 degrees on the night that we were getting snow and stuff, and it's like Fahrenheit for our fellow Canadians, because I know Sean McCarthy and Michael Gillen are here, which I'm sure to pretty much anybody north of like Virginia is laughable. Like, that's a Justin Olson would be like, dude, I'd be wearing shorts. Like, that's a nice balmy Minnesota evening.
Yeah, McCarthy says it was -6 in Ontario, warming up today. And I'm pretty, Sean, you're like an hour north of Toronto, right?
-6 Celsius or -6 Fahrenheit?
I assumed he meant 6 Fahrenheit.
Michael Gillen gives me the courtesy of putting it in American measurements.
Oh, he's 20 minutes west of Toronto. Okay.
Hanging out with Drake.
Still cold.
Yeah, it is. But regardless, weather aside, it's Monday.
Yes, it is.
Snakes and Stogies, episode 228. Just brought to you by FullVSapparel.com. Check them out, Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN at checkout. Get 15% off your order. That is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you. I just added a bunch of hats and stuff last night. Fairly limited availability until I make more, because I don't know exactly what's going to do well and what's going to end up sitting here for 2 years. So, see. Cold-blooded caffeine, best coffee around. The Snakes and Stogies blend is where it's at. Rwanda and Mexico together in one bag, working their caffeinated magic.
I actually, when I was in Vegas, I had an Uber driver, and she was from Rwanda, and I was like, "That's so cool."
Boy, I have the coffee for you.
Right. I was like, we have a sponsorship with a coffee company with coffee from Rwanda. And she says, that's nice. And then that was the end of the conversation. And I felt real dumb. But it's cool. So it's good. I'm sure she gets that all the time. Oh. So
she probably gets asked all the time if she's seen Hotel Rwanda, which was like one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. There's
yes.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. That was a terrible.
Well, instead of being that guy that brings up their checkered past, I figured I'd bring up something jovial, and she very politely shot me down. So it's fine.
Did you ask her about snakes?
Definitely not.
No.
Definitely not. Yes.
Well, the best coffee together in one bag. The Snakes and Stogies blend and many others available at coldbloodedcaffeine.com. Use the code SMOKE. Should get you 10% off your order. And then they've got pour over stuff. Like you can choose the grind. So whether you do espresso, so you want something super fine, or if you do like cold brew, so you want something more coarse, the options are there. Just let Trey and the gang know, and they will make all your caffeinated dreams come true.
It's all on the grind, man.
I'm glad you're back, Phil. I feel like
so am I. I appreciate that. I missed you.
I haven't heard your sultry voice in so long.
I know it's like super sultry because I'm all nasally right now.
I'm assuming you're not smoking a cigar this evening.
I'm not smoking a cigar this evening. It would be a waste of good tobacco.
I guess I gotta smoke two for both of us. Then.
You do. What do you smoke?
I'll jump on that grenade, buddy.
Yeah. Belly first.
Yeah, no cigar for me. Little.
What's that?
Milk. Little Dragon's Milk stout.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It's a stout kind of night.
They had a cigar for a while.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, Asylum made it, and I think I got my hands on it. It was very early on when I was first getting into cigars and stuff. So this was like 2011. And I remember it being a big deal because it was like a $16 or $17 cigar. And so for me at the time, it was like, oh man, like this thing better be good. And I don't remember it being anything like mind blowing, but it was different. It was interesting. Asylum isn't the most high end of cigar makers. They do a lot of sort of the gimmicky ones, the ones that are like 8x80, like ridiculous femur size cigars that guys get. And we had one guy that would come in and get the 770s just so he could walk around downtown with them in like downtown Savannah and look cool and like hit on chicks. I don't know. I was like, whatever, dude. Just give me.
It reminds me when you have a stick that big, it reminds me of, remember the old Camel Wides? And my cousin always used to call them cartoon. They used to call them cartoon cigarettes because in a cartoon, cigarettes are always considerably larger than they are in real life, especially cigars too. And it just always reminds me of like Looney Tunes era cartoons.
Yeah, this guy would always come in. He's like, man, I walk down the street, girls love it. I'm like, okay, dude.
They probably don't, pal. They probably don't.
Just put the fries in the bag, bro.
Yeah, by girls he means 65-year-old men.
I don't know. I was like, he's just going on and on about it, and I'm like, great, your total's 49.87. Like,
nice.
I love that for you. So, but I'm smoking a Tabernacle. I have not had one of these in a hot minute.
That's a great cigar, man.
I don't know.
Did they change the wrapper?
No, this is the Havana seed, so this is the red label.
Oh, okay. The red label.
It's not the broadleaf.
Yeah.
I've had sort of mixed feelings about this and the black label one for a couple of years now. It seems like sometimes I have them and I really enjoy them, and sometimes I have them and I just like they're a little too sharp, a little too bitter for me.
Yeah, the black label's rough, man.
It definitely, especially as you get closer to the end, it gets to be a rough ride. But I saw it. I was like, you know what? I haven't had one in a while. I got a Liga number 9 for for last week that I never even smoked.
Ah,
I don't think I smoked last week, but it was so cold and I did so much talking, I barely finished it. So that Liga number 9 just sat around, and I smoked that as I was falling off that boogie board that was being pulled by the side by side. So when you see that video of the little something like getting tossed to the side, that's me like literally throwing this number 9 because I can't breathe and I'm just trying to like get it out of my face because I was actively smoking it while I was on the boogie board, and then I landed flat on my back. So I saved that for a special occasion, and it was special. So I was like, let me get something because Phil's back. We get something, proper. So I have that, and then I got a Undercrown 660 because I do not know that I've had the 660. It's been a very long time if I have. So that's what's for anyone who's curious. That's what we got. But
I got to smoke a cigar from one of my manufacturer reps, and this is what kills me. The company went out of their way to make laser engraved zippers for me. And if you were not a normal Joe Schmo, if your sales rep liked you, he put lighter fluid in it, right? So you could use it at the convention. And then they handed out sticks, and it was one of the best cigars I've had in recent months. No idea what it was, who made it, where it came from, because it had their logo. It didn't have any cigar manufacturer information at all. And when I asked my rep, he's like, I have no idea, man. I don't smoke cigars. And then he asked the director of sales, and he's like, I don't know, man. We just got a bunch of them. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to do some digging. And when I do find out what it is, I'm gonna have to share that information because that was a fantastic stick. So, but yes, I digress.
did you didn't get a lighter, or you did get a lighter?
I did get a lighter. I did. I didn't use it on the cigar.
Did it get confiscated at TSA?
Oh no, I just threw it with my keys in the little bucket and called it a day.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Oh really? They take away Zippos?
I don't know. TSA just doesn't play, period, and it seems like the rules are constantly changing in terms of like what you can and can't bring on. So I'm very conscientious of how I present my belongings to them. And like for example, I got a bunch of lapel pins from a company, like they give away promo crap, like patches, stickers, that kind of stuff. There's one company that has really cool lapel pins. I was like, oh, this is cool. So I grabbed like 4 or 5 of them from the guys at my shop. But I thought to myself, I can't put this in with like my dirty clothes because they're going to think it's like a flechette grenade or something. So I literally put them in a little Ziploc bag and I put them in the little cup with my keys. So as it went through the metal detector, it was just my baseball hat, my sunglasses, my keys, and these little lapel pins. That way they didn't have to rip my bag apart or, dismember my belongings. Tell them they're caltrips for when the air marshal chases you down the aisle.
Right.
Just toss them behind you.
And like yeah, exactly. I always have horrible luck with TSA. So over the years, I've learned how to make life simpler. I will say this though, on one of my flights, and for everyone who has seen this, and been cool with it, but one of my flights, I sat down in the aisle seat, and the guy adjacent to me stood up, and I saw the butt of a gun, and I was like, "That's not supposed to be there." So I very gingerly like tapped him on the shoulder. We hadn't even taken off yet. I tapped him on the shoulder. I was like, "Hey, man, you're peeking." And he was like, "Oh, thank you." And like covered it with his shirt. I never figured out if he was a marshal or not. No idea. I mean, I'm to assume he was, you know? So, but.
Was he carrying something cool at least?
You'd think it was cool.
Oh, that's rude.
You own one.
I own several.
Well, you own the little one.
Yeah, so, that was great.
Yeah, it is. But I was actually I wonder if it was like his first time because he was not like cognizant. You know what I'm saying? So
rookie.
But I'd never seen that before, so that's good. But I digress. Says I met John McClane. Yeah, not quite. Not quite.
Are there any
classic scene
updates or anything as far as what's going on down yonder with the room and stuff? Or
Um,
I don't really have anything, so
no. So I checked the Fuscus before I went to Vegas because it was chilly, right? So it was like low 50s here. It was like low 60s in the room, like 63, 64 in the room. And I was like, let me check the Fuscus because I hadn't looked at them in like 3 or 4 weeks. I was like, I got to probably put water in their bowl. Both of them shed. Both of them were out of the hide. The water bowl was bone dry. So I was like, all right, let me give you some water. And they both immediately smelled the water and went to go drink it. But neither one of them looks like anything happened at all. So they still have the exact same body girth and everything else. Neither one of them defecated. So I was like, all right, cool. And then while I was gone, it got real chilly down here. So, but again, I don't have a camera on them, so I have no idea what they did, if anything, but I went and checked on them when I got home and they are literally exactly the same. So we shall see. We shall see.
get some Waze cameras, man. They're cheap.
And you know what's funny is I have the Waze, but every time I try and put it in there, I think what I need to do is Wise, whatever. I have 2 or 3 of them that I can hardwire, and they have the like adhesive plates, you know. What I think I need to do is I think I need to get a set of pliers and just crank down those gimbal screws and then adhesive it to the bottom of the tub, because anytime I put them in there, within an hour or 2, they're just knocked over and it's like facing dirt. So I even thought about drilling through the plastic tub with like a butterfly screw and like a washer just to make it stay put, you know. So we might try that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Didn't we talk about you trying them in like cobra enclosures or something and they just immediately destroyed them?
Oh, you know, I did it with Najacia mensis, Indo-Chinese black and white spitting cobras. And I had 3 of them. This is me and Henry did this. And we had 3 of them. I suction cup one to the bottom and like buried the suction cup in mulch. Then I suction cupped one to the glass of the front of the vision cage and had it like gooseneck down to get like a bird's eye view. And then we used the 3M like epoxy plate to stick it on the side of the vision. And I got better what's the word I'm looking for? Courtship video with my cell phone up against the glass than I did with any of the 3 cameras. And right after I was like, all right, I can't hold my phone here anymore. Like this is getting redundant. After I got my phone videos, they started to like really go up and down and around, and they knocked all of them down. So I was like, this is not happening ever again. Cause now I have to wait for them to go to sleep and then sneak in and take them out. Otherwise I'm totally going to disturb the whole courtship thing. And I didn't want to do that. And that was the clutch where she dropped 22 perfect eggs. However, she scattered them across the cage. So Henry and I plucked all of them out. We set them up in underground's like massive incubator room. And unfortunately, one of the guys who's in charge of the incubator room, he never turned the fan on in that incubator. And all the eggs cooked at like 110 degrees for like 3 days. So we lost that whole clutch. So.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. Yep. That was the last time I bred cobras.
Well, this week we are joined by Mr. Kevin Arbogast.
Hoo-doo-hoo.
Arbogast Reptiles.
What's up, guys?
A man of taste.
Legit taste.
A man of sophistication.
You have any idea how hard it was to not ask you about snakes prior to the show going live? Because I'm like, no, don't ask him now. Don't just save it for content. Don't do that now. So,
yeah.
Bedtime. He's going to sleep. Nights are.
I love them all. Man. It just pythons and boas are definitely my passion, though. That's kind of
we got some rat snakes and some oddball stuff too.
Yeah, my little yellow rat that I got this summer, little Seminole County from Chris Montrose. I love that thing. It's absolutely one of my favorite snakes. I don't know. They're so different. From the pythons and stuff. And I just literally, when I feed them, I'm constantly watching them eat and stuff like that. Cause it's just different, Yeah,
man.
And it's kind of a nostalgia thing too, a little bit. Cause, the early 90s, worked with my dad, painting and stuff, new homes, and a lot of times in rural areas, and caught a lot of yellow rats, and I would keep some of them and keep them for a little bit and then just let them loose and stuff like that. So I don't know. I really like yellow rats.
That's cool, man.
So
it's very cool.
One of those species that just you go into it not thinking you're going to enjoy them as much as you end up enjoying them.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I just think they're beautiful. They just those orange eyes, and when I first started, I was a huge retic fan, so I love those orange eyes.
Yeah, man.
So,
especially, man. Those are always good looking snakes. Jake has a good. I don't know how many Seminoles he has currently, but I know he had one lot, and they were all bangers. They were all really good.
I mean, I live in Volusia, Seminoles, next county over, and probably get them wild, but right now I'm just kind of like prefer everything captive bred as much as I can get.
Yeah.
So.
And you're not keeping any ESC stuff anymore, are you?
What's that?
You're not keeping any ESC stuff anymore, right?
No
retics or anything. Okay.
No. I haven't kept retics probably since the early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had my time with them, and I'm not going to lie. They're probably one of my favorite animal species alive, them in like saltwater crocs and stuff, but, they're quite a responsibility and quite a lot to clean up after. And,
oh yeah.
It's just, it's a lot, especially if, one of them gets feisty and stuff like that. I've been pretty lucky where, everyone that I usually got as a juvenile, and most of them were pretty cool, and they're really, I just had a chance to work with them and stuff like that. Like, I mean, honestly, my second snake ever was a juvenile retic. So I got my parents, they got me an imported ball python for my first snake. And, man, that wouldn't eat nothing, it was a beautiful snake, but it was typical 1990 early, imported adult, and I was like, man, I just was fascinated by retics. And the more I read the books, it said these things are like man killers. That was just kind of like, that actually just kind of made it more attractive to me for some reason.
Sure.
That's just my personality. And, I got that thing, and, probably what 2.5 feet or whatever. And, it was a great snake, honestly. It was like probably one of the tamest snakes I've ever had. Just super mellow, just had a chance to grow with it. I mean, nowadays, I don't think you tell anyone their second snake to get a retic, but I don't know. Things were a little different back then.
Yeah, it was a different time, different era.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man.
So,
if I had to pick any of the bigger ones to keep, it would be retics. Like, the morphs and stuff are cool, but man, you give me just as they come natural retics. You see them in person. That is such a hard snake to beat in terms of just the iridescence and the pattern and the colors.
Yeah.
It's just, it's been very tempting. At least the dwarf stuff and smaller stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I just, even the smaller stuff is more than I've been wanting to commit. And it's just.
Yeah, I mean, the small stuff is still going to get fairly big. So
Yeah.
And
just kind of live vicariously through others.
Yeah, for sure. But
so what got you into this stuff, man?
Honestly, it was kind of funny. I mean, I grew up racing BMX and stuff and doing all that stuff, and I was always into animals, just not particularly reptiles, and then probably when I was about 16 or whatever, buddy Matt took me over to his friend's house, and he had a berm and had a boa constrictor, which, on Cape Cod, Mass, it was, it just weren't used to that type of stuff. And I just was floored. That's it. I just was like absolutely enamored by it. And, I was just fascinated by it. And then when we moved to Florida shortly after that, one of my high school English teachers, last day of school, she brought in her 2 adult ball pythons. And that was really the first time I got a chance to actually handle a python and stuff. And that's it. I was off of that. That's all I could talk about. And eventually, like 4 months later, my folks ended up picking me up a ball python. Then 2 months later, it was a retic, and then it was a boa, then it was a yellow anaconda, and then it just just went on from there, and it was mainly pet store stuff. And then about 92, I went to the National Reptile Breeders Expo for the first time. And, I just was blown away, just absolutely blown away. Like, seeing baby Brazilian rainbows for the first time, seeing baby chondros for the first time. I nearly died when I saw how small they were, I mean, I had seen adults in the zoos and stuff, but just seeing how, small some of these things were.
Oh yeah.
Seeing diamond pythons. And then I ended up buying a baby Brazilian rainbow boa off of Dick Gergen, because I was just obsessed at his table. He had, I had seen pictures of like womas and blackheads, but they were horrible pictures, and I wasn't really impressed. But then when I saw his there that he had captive bred, I was like, oh my God, these things are unreal. They were just absolutely amazing. I mean, Dick just really had some really great stuff, really a pioneer breeder. And, yeah, so it was just, seeing diamond pythons and stuff like that. And it just, that's really, and that's where I discovered Crutchfields, and I realized it's only an hour away from where I lived, or hour and a half. And after that, I just started making like bi-week, every other week. It was like I was making a trip out there, even if it was just to hang out.
Yeah.
So
you had the place in Fort Lauderdale?
What's that?
Is this when you had the place in Fort Lauderdale?
No, this was Lake Panisofsky,
Okay.
outside of Bushnell.
Okay.
When Adam was working with him. I think Adam was only there for like probably about a year, and then David Fowler took over management duties. Honestly, like I was actually intimidated by Tommy. I was like, I don't know, man. He was just like, such a gnarly dude, and just such a legend. And so most of the time when I went, I dealt with Adam, and then dealt with David and stuff like that, and talked to Tommy's daughters and stuff. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, I was able to just go there, hang out, and see stuff. And at that point I was basically renting snakes from him, because I would buy something, you keep it for a little bit, then take it back and trade it for something else. And
yeah,
and it just it really was just became just a lifestyle. And I've been in and out of it a few times, never usually voluntarily. Normally life stuff comes up, especially when you get family and everything like that, but I always find my way back to it, and just love it,
So what are you keeping currently? And sort of, I know you got, like we were saying sort of before we started, like you do have a pretty interesting mix of things, but like the focus is like, how did you come to land on what you're keeping currently and sort of focused on?
I think part of it is I took, this was the longest break I had taken from keeping, really. It started where I kind of really built up my collection. I was breeding a lot, up until about 2010. And then, that 2008, 9, like my best breeding season was in 2009. I hit all my ball python pairings. I hit chondros, womas, and children's pythons and stuff. And it was just, but the economy was just really rough, and we were just, having a hard time feeding everybody. So, and living in an apartment wasn't great either, so it just ended up having to take a break. And after, being away for that long, I kept a few snakes here and there. Surprisingly, mostly boas actually at that time. I kept a few boas, like 2014, 15 and whatever. So I think when I got back into it, I think I just was really kind of going to my roots. I couldn't keep the things like, and I really didn't even want to keep like the big snakes like retics and stuff like that. I would like to keep scrubs, that's kind of a bummer, but so I just thought about the things that I really liked, back then. And, it was, blood pythons, even though the ones I had in the early 90s, were psychotic, because they were, adult imports and stuff like that. I just found them fascinating. I always liked boas. I've always had a few boas and stuff like that. Coastal carpets. I've always loved coastal carpets. They were actually the first snake I ever bred, back in 2000. Yeah, it's the first time I bred anything was back in 2001, and they were the coastals. And I had a pair that I got from Jim Peters, who's local Florida legend.
Yeah.
And the other pair I got from Dave and Tracy. And they were nice. I ended up I got him at 3 years. She laid him at 3 years because back then we fed things a lot different than we do
Oh
now.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I was on the retic power feeding bandwagon, but she dropped like 20 plus all fertile eggs and everything like that. So
very cool.
Yeah, so it was good. I kind of butchered him, trying to incubate him in a little Hoover and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so coastals are really all Australian pythons. I've always had a fascination for them. It comes from watching a lot of documentaries on saltwater crocs. That's one of my favorite animals. So I love watching that stuff. So coastals. Really stoked that I was able to get blackhead pythons, Atawomas again and stuff like that. So, it's basically just things that I really like. And I wanted a little bit more, go back to I liked my collection when I had like my Neodicias and I had more display type stuff,
Sure.
I still use racks. I know racks for some snakes are kind of good. So, but I want that display also. They're not like super naturalistic, but I just, set them up.
You want to see stuff.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I want to enjoy it. So yeah, it's it's stuff that I want to breed, and now I've just got the opportunity to where I can do that. I'm finally in a position in life where I can kind of really focus on those things.
Sure.
My wife's 100% behind me. She's super supportive. She's real happy we finally got chondros again. So she's
nice.
She's stoked on that one. I mean, I am too. Honestly, I could really go down a rabbit hole on that one. So, but
well, it already made it in the group chat. So let's talk macklets, and savus.
Okay, I've had a pair of savus back in like the late 90s. Amazingly enough, the first savu I ever saw was when Crutchfield first got him in. It was like in the fall of 93. I was there. It was on a Saturday, and he pulled these things out, and they were subadults, so they still had a lot of coral on them. So I'm looking at the snake that's got like this real black on the on the front part, and then the tail end is just like this coral color with these bright white eyes. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was just mind blowing, And so I eventually got a pair. I never did breed them, but I don't know. Mine were like really cool. They were like super tame and really easy going. And then at the mid 2000s, I went to a Tampa show, and this dude had some Macklots, and he had 2 males, and he wanted $25 for them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? I'm like, nobody understood like how cool these things were. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take them. I'm like, they're males. I'll just keep them as pets for a while or whatever. I don't care, but they're awesome. So it's, as soon as I had a chance, I really was kind of trying to decide between olives or Macklocks, because I really love olive pythons. And with, my thing for retics, I think olives have a very similar personality a little bit, that high food response, very alert, aware, but just the space and stuff. I just, I felt like, Macklots fit a little bit better into what I'm trying to do, and I'm just blown away by this girl. I just love her, nice. And she's starting to chill out a little bit too, so that's cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, it seems kind of hit or miss with a lot of the Elias's stuff from the South, but I've heard a lot of pretty even things on savus where people said mine were really mellow, and then I've had people say mine are the worst. They're just so high strung, and same with Macklets and stuff like that. So and then Timors have always been kind of a weird one. It sounds like I've never kept them, but I know Phil, you had the ones that were going to Billy for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, so I messed around with them a couple times when I worked at Strictly, but like nothing crazy. And the ones we always had at Strictly, they're all wild caught juveniles, and they were so freaked out that like there was no defensiveness. It was almost like submission, broken, like a broken horse.
Yeah.
But the babies, I want to say babies, I would say like 6 month to a year old ones that I got for Billy, I kept them in my old bedroom for maybe 4 or 5 months, and they were so rewarding, man. Like I was so enamored with them, and like checking them every day and taking them out and looking at them and trying to get them hand tamed. They never struck, they never hissed, they never pooped, they never did anything. And then I guess the running joke is the first year they're wonderful, and then after that is when if you look at them wrong, if you look at them wrong, they shit all over you. So I gave them to Billy. Billy was like, "Oh man, they look great. Thanks so much for hanging on to them." And then as soon as he started to do the exact same things that I was doing, they just started to flop around and poop on him and just be, So I feel like I got the fun times and he didn't, but whatever, he has them. So
honestly, that's one of my favorite pythons. I remember, visiting. Tommy had he had his main, showcase or whatever. Then he had a separate building for like the breeders and stuff like that, and he had a lot of nice stuff in there. And seeing Timor's up close, I'm fascinated by him. But honestly, that's the thing that's kept me, from getting into him right now. When I have a different setup a little bit, and I don't mind them spraying and praying, then I'll definitely add a pair of them. Like some things I'm happy just to get a pair and just try to work with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
from what I gather, and obviously you guys ask some of the other people that are more knowledgeable. By the way, we're talking about lesser Sunda pythons.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to correct everyone with the Timor name. I'm going to be that snob.
I've had it.
They don't come from Timor.
Yeah.
From what I gather, your neck of the woods, straight across to like Tampa and north, is like the lesser Sunda Timor python breeder belt, and like the best success comes from like I guess I want to say Tampa north to Tallahassee, like that belt across northern Florida. Right. That's nice. That's where everyone has good success. So
maybe I'll have to get 2.2 then.
You got to do it, man. You got to do it.
Yeah, they're on there. Chondros are kind of our next. I still got to get a male Macklots to go with my female. I'm gonna get him probably from Dennis McNamara. He's the same guy I got the female from, and so after that, I think we're pretty much focused on chondros for a little bit, getting a little bit of a group together. And,
what do you have currently there?
We have two. I get 2 captive bred Sarongs from a guy, Jamie Daly, up out of actually my dad's old hometown, Norwood, Mass. And they've been great. They've been great, and it's just. It used to be easy. Honestly, my first chondro I got was a Biak, farm hatch girl. And, the condition of like the farm hatch babies, I would say in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s or whatever, was really good. She was a great snake. I ended up with the male. I think he's a Biak outcross. He had a lot more blue vertical striping on him or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think I paired her up. I don't think I actually bred her the first time until she was like, I think 6 years old. And dude, I fed her. So she was a big girl. She laid 22 eggs.
Wow. Nice.
For her first clutch, in which I just happened to be, me and the family were away at Fort Myers on vacation. So I came home and found the clutch, and they were pretty dried. They were pretty wrinkly. Set them up.
She bailed on them?
No, she stayed there with them. I think the problem is that I put dry sphagnum moss underneath, and I didn't moisten it all like in her nest box. I just left it completely dry. And also my setup for them was like really basic. Like I literally just used a spotlight for heat. I wasn't using heat panels or anything like that. And so I just think the environment just, with me not being there and spraying and stuff, was just too dry. And, I mean, they went the distance, most of the eggs. But I ended up cutting them, and a few of them poked their heads out, and I actually had 2 of them crawl out, but they didn't absorb the umbilical. They didn't absorb any of the yolk sac. Oh, wow. So Yeah, so they ended up passing a couple days later, so that was a bummer, and the next year she really bounced back, partly just because she was a big girl to begin with, and she dropped me 19 good eggs, and of those through the incubation, I honestly just with that I just went and did it the same way I did my ball pythons. I just stuck them in vermiculite, and I just figured I'm just going to go with the way I know, and I got 11 out of the 19 to hatch. And
what temperature were you doing them at the time?
Probably yeah. So my incubator at the time, we were living in the apartment. I turned our walk-in closet into an incubator.
The whole thing.
I put on the very bottom, I put like a 1x2 across, and then I put weather stripping all along it, and also on the bottom, so it sealed the thing in there. Put an oil one of those oil-filled radiators in there with some fans, and I had those a Ranco thermostat. It was a double, so it was backed up, and like we actually had a dresser in there with our clothes and stuff, and we would have to go in there and get nice warm clothes. And it worked great. I used that for like 4 years.
Wow.
I would say temperature was like 88 to 89, but I hatched everything from, like I said, ball pythons to the chondros to womas and children's in there. So it worked really good with pretty, with the exception of the chondros, everything else is really high percentage. If they're good eggs, they hatched.
What was the humidity in the room? Do you remember?
It wasn't in the actual incubator room. It wasn't high. I used sealed egg boxes and stuff like that. So all the humidity was inside the egg box. That's a lesson I learned from my very first breeding, where I used the Huvabators, and I just put vermiculite in the Huvabator and put the eggs in there, and the top eggs just were completely dried and cooked, and so the only ones that hatched, were the ones that are at the bottom that were touching the vermiculite and stuff like that. So, but 2001, it wasn't as much information, about nest boxes and all that stuff as much as there is now, so. So, and then I tried doing it, I think it was 2006. Yeah. My first ball python clutch. I tried using like a cooler incubator. And I had fluctuations in temperature with it and stuff, too much. And I ended up with like a couple that were kinked. So after that, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to set it up this way and work pretty good. And, that second clutch of chondros, those 11 were solid. I had one that I had to assist feed. But all the others, the other 10, they all took the first night of feeding them. It was a pain in the butt sitting there with a warm bucket of water and, dipping it and teasing, freezing and all that stuff. It was a long deal, but, they took them, and then, that Biak blood, they were off running after that.
Nice.
So that was.
What was it like seeing the landscape change with ball pythons from then to now? Like, did you ever expect ball pythons to blow up like they have from?
Yeah, because they were, I was breeding some ball. Actually, was mainly breeding some ball pythons in like the mid 2000s or whatever. That's, actually the way I got the money for like my womas and chondros and the children's and my Malukan pythons and stuff back then. Was from all the ball python stuff, but I was breeding basic stuff like, pastels and yellow bellies and, and I did 1 year of spiders. And then after I found how wonky they were, I got rid of that project. And, and then, it was kind of that time of year it was kind of cool, seeing like the first white snakes hatch out and, seeing some of the things, and then when I got back into it, it was like, it's just like so advanced. Like, in order to even like kind of compete, because of so many of the genes, especially with the recessive genes, you have to have so many animals to hit those combos and stuff. I kind of thought I was going to do the same thing, grab a few ball pythons and, and breed a few ball pythons and make some money to get some of the other snakes I'm interested in. I realized real quick, for me, the biggest shock was the amount of people breeding.
Yeah.
That was like, I was like, whoa, like I just could not believe the amount of people, the amount of, and like the size collections that they had, like back in the day, like, those would be like, the big dogs, and these are just, average everyday breeders. So, I mean, I'm impressed with what they're doing. I think they're cool. I've got a couple ball pythons myself. I like pied stuff and albinos. Again, that's a nostalgia, old school thing for me. I still remember seeing the first albinos. They're at the '92 show. That was pretty insane.
Nice.
And seeing pieds and stuff. So, for me, that's kind of, I still like seeing them as babies. I like seeing them hatch out. I think they look cool. But as far as like, getting deeper into it, nah, man, I don't want to commit that much to it. There's just so many other things that I like, it's just, I mean, that's half the problem is, I really like, so many of these different pythons and boas and stuff. And it's like, man, you got to really pick what your favorites.
Oh yeah. Well, I do like how you set out a goal to breed stuff that you like, and then you use the funds from that to buy more animals that you wanted. I think that's that's the goal for most of us.
That's what I do with Cresteds, man.
It's super cool that you got to do it, man. That's great.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good back then. I mean, actually, I like my womas that I got back then. I actually got them like almost as full adults on a trade for like a really weird. I hatched out this really weird spider, and I think it had some other gene in it or something like that, but weren't really sure. I think Kevin called them barbed wire ones or something like that. Okay. But I traded that spider that I hatched out for a pair of womas that ended up breeding for me the very next year. So
wow,
and the thing is, I liked the ball pythons that I was working with, I mean, I really thought they were cool. Same thing with the ones I got now, and I've got some buddies, my buddy George Endy, he produces some killer stuff, and I just love looking at it, but, to be,
seems like a lot of people are kind of starting to trend that way. Like our buddy Boca Joe, who does a colubrid corruption podcast. He's kind of shifted focus to colubrids, but he decided what he really enjoyed in ball python morphs, and he sort of whittled it down to that, It seems like there's a lot of people that are sort of going that direction of like, there's a morph I like. I want to spend more time focusing on that rather than sort of going wide, with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's how I did it. I mean, I hatched out an albino pied this year that is like, has like almost no white on her, but her pattern is so crazy, and she's just, really wild looking. I'm like, damn, that's cool. It's like, one of a kind. And I was,
and think about that statement, an albino pied, like, how crazy would that have been 15, 20 years ago? It's wild.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And to me, it still is that. Like, I think that's the weird thing is I think I'm still viewing the hobby through 15-year-old eyes, from 15 years ago, because, there's just, I'm just blown away by a lot of stuff that some people think is just, oh yeah, it's tough because you see so much on Instagram, it's like, it's impressive the stuff you see, like, whether it be chondro stuff or, boa morphs or, just some of the rare species and stuff. It's just super impressive where the hobby's at right now. It's pretty cool. So yeah, for me, I'm still impressed by some of the simple things, If
I was going to do ball pythons, like if I went back in time and was going to do ball pythons, I think Jake and I are in agreement. It would be cool just to see someone like selectively breed just your standard pastels over the course of, 10 plus years. Like, what would they look like? Or Mojaves or something simple like that's
nothing else, just pastel.
Like, see what you could do with a pair of those or a trio of those and just keep whittling away.
It'd be like the Lee Abbott Oketees, just pastel.
It's funny because that was one of my favorite morphs, was a pastel, and that was actually my first morph. I paid $1,000 for a pastel ball, and back in the day, that was back in the day, and I mean, and the thing is, I picked out, like, with my females, I just have a habit of kind of raising things from babies. For me, I just think it's better for them to be in my system, like just used to. I just seem to have better luck that way. So I did really good with like picking out, like, I wasn't picking them out to be dinkers to look for different traits or anything. I was just looking for good color and, to make some really nice. And on some of those clutches, it really worked. There were some of those pastels that I produced they were just amazing, especially when they went to the next level and made super pastels and stuff like that. So selectively picking, the normals and stuff like that. I had fun with that. And honestly, I still look back at some of my old photos and stuff, and I look at those normals. I'm like, yeah, those are badass. I really like them and stuff. And, I find it kind of weird now that like normals are almost like throwaway animals. It's just kind of a bizarre situation, but
wholesale them for $5 each.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, for me though, I don't know. I think like, I guess blood pythons and boas are probably like the largest part of my group right now.
Do you think the ball pythons, like the blood pythons, were sort of a
transition
departure from the balls?
Or
was it just
a little
pythons, sort of stand out as their own thing? Or
I think they just stand out as their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I had some experience in the past with some imports and stuff, but these many generations captive bred now, they're just such different animals. And I found that, as I was interacting with them and stuff like that, that a lot of the things that I enjoyed with retics, kind of like that, they call it, they say intelligence or whatever, but yeah, it kind of is. It's just, they're very aware. I found that surprisingly with the blood pythons.
Oh, for sure.
They're definitely a lot more,
tuned
especially
in.
Especially when you get one that's really, really tame and stuff too. Like, my big T+ albino girl, Amber, man, she is just puppy tame. Like, I can put a rat in there and push her head back and you go eat that thing, like she is just really, really, really a sweetheart. And, most of mine are, even the ones that started out a little feisty, just work with them. And they're just, for me, again, like I said, I kept a lot of retics back in the day, a few berms here and there, but I liked the big pythons. The BMX shop that we had that I went to up north, there was this place behind it called Trader Pete's, and it had all types of like exotic animals back there and stuff like that. And I remember going back there and, when I started getting the interest in snakes a little bit, and he had these photos, of, some of the locals that had big retics and big berms, and I was just like impressed by those big snakes. And the blood pythons, honestly, to me, they're the perfect, big snake, because they don't get that long.
They check the boxes.
Yeah, exactly. They're impressive animals. They do kind of command respect a little bit too. Worked up adult blood python is definitely, it's a handful. Luckily most of them nowadays are, pretty chill. So they're just, really impressive, and they're not that long. And yeah, they do drop a heck of a turd, but at least you only got to pick it up once every 2 or 3 months.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you get some great morphs too. So what did you start off with, just regular red bloods, like red Sumatrans, or did you get into the morph game when you started getting the bloods?
I got right into the morphs. They were, for me, I still remember when that Reptiles magazine came out with, Dave and Tracy's T+ on the cover. Yeah. And I was like a dream snake back then. So, I got a chance to get one of those. Actually, the very first snake I picked up, when I started to get back into keeping and stuff like that, I convinced my wife, hey, let's go check out this Repticon or whatever. And, I was thinking, I was like, maybe I'll get like a corn snake or something just to have like a pet, and when I saw a batik blood python, and I was just like, oh my God, like the pattern on it was just so cool. Like nothing I had seen before. I'd seen the golden eyes, but I hadn't really noticed the batiks. And so, yeah, we ended up walking out of there with a batik blood python, and that was just the beginning of the rest. I ended up picking up the T-Paws albino, Then I got a goldeneye ivory that is het for T-paws. And then I ended up getting a goldeneye that was het for teen egg because the batik I got was het for teen egg. That's the pair that actually went for me last year. Or actually, it was a split clutch. So I had both male. I put the goldeneye ivory het for T-paws in there once. He locked up once, and he sired 2 babies. And the cool thing is I found out that batik is het for teen egg and het for T-paws because I ended up getting a T-positive 007 out of it right next to my T-negative golden eyes. So, and then ended up getting a bunch of karma stuff, which karmas are a visual double het. Think of them almost like a paradigm boa, so they're het for T-paws and T-negative. The inheritance is a little bit weird.
Would you call it a paradigm?
Well, that's the boa version. Like if you take a sharp albino to a boa and caramel, you get like a paradigm. It's
and what's the blood called?
The blood's called a karma.
Karma. Okay. Like Karma, like karma, like don't mess with your buddy. Yeah. Credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
So I ended up getting a regular karma in there. I got a karma goldeneye, and I believe it's the first karma pixel. I have, I've posted it on the forums and stuff like that. At first I wasn't sure what it was, but as her colors develop or his colors developed, you can definitely tell, it's definitely a karma. So I'm, looking forward to eventually breeding him with the goldeneye karma, because when you breed 2 of them together, when you breed 2 karmas together, you end up getting, you get T negatives, T positives in the clutches, and then karmas and no normals, but there's still kind of some work to figure out how the karma gene works. I think it's like a 3rd gene that might be allelic with like the T positive.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I just Googled it because I'd never heard of that before. And it's super cool, man. Seeing it like in goldeneye, seeing it in double O's, seeing it in just regular bloods.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Like that's awesome, man. Just a regular blood.
Yep.
That's super cool.
Yeah, they're cool. They're really cool. And for me, the thing that I'm curious about is to try and get them into some of the white snakes, like, into the magpie, try to clean up because they act almost as a hypo. Yep. So I'm trying to get them into like, some of the magpies and the magpie combos to kind of clean up some of that dirtiness that comes in on them.
Sure. And has anyone done the Karma Magpie?
No, I don't believe so. No.
I wonder how much it offsets,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I just, I just really liked some of the morphs and stuff like that. So with the blood pythons and even with the boas, I kind of went the morph route too. I've kept a lot of true red tails in the past, Surinams and Guyanas and Peruvians. I like them a lot too. I just was, I saw an opportunity to the prices that they were at to, afford morphs that I couldn't even believe were available, 10, 15 years ago. So I went that route with the boas.
Come to the conclusion that pretty much anything with IMG in it is going to catch my attention.
Yeah, I'm big into IMG. Yeah, I've got three of my 4 male boas are IMGs. So I got the VPI, T-Paws, IMG Motley. That thing's killer. It just looks like a brown leather belt. It just has such a cool pattern on him too. I call them Black Sabbath because his pattern just reminds me like, Tony Iommi's fretboard or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It just cool look to it. Then I have the IMG Celtic that's het for sharp albino. And then I just picked up a IMG Key West that's also het for sharp albino because they're very similar. So I want to make sure I got something to back up on that, for my sharp projects and stuff like that. And that thing's really wild because Key West have some interesting colored eyes, and so do IMGs. So I had posted on my Instagram like a close-up, and it literally looked like the bottom half of the eye looks like it's filled up with blood, and then just bloodshot like raining up above. It's just real wild looking. So yeah, they're pretty wild snakes. So.
Did you ever get into any like the locality stuff, like Central American?
I had a Costa Rican boa, just kind of as a pet. Like it was really nice Costa Rican. I'm sure I posted it somewhere on my Instagram. It was really nice, not really too much into the dwarf boas that much,
Mhm.
I think the Tarahumara is a pretty cool looking though, and the Pearl Islands. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of dig the Pearl. See, I can go down a rabbit hole and get lost real quick.
I don't know how anyone can choose a favorite as far as the true red tails, because
Suriname for the win, bro.
oh, it's so tough, dude.
Yeah, I've kind of been a Suriname person, and some of my favorites have been Surreys, and I had a
I
real
really
nice
like the
Peruvian.
Brazilians.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the South Brazilians. Those are the ones that I really like. They're kind of like that intermediary between Amaralai and Constrictor. Yeah, they've got some. I had my eye on a couple of those actually. But it was just, only so much money, so much space.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, can I be that guy and slip back to Bloods for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, because I love Bloods, I used to keep one or two Sumatrans that were pets, and now that I'm focused on desert stuff, I don't even like look at them anymore. I used to cruise one market and just look at having an army of golden eyes. But so you're keeping Batik, you're keeping Magpie, you're keeping Goldeneye and 007s?
Yeah, well, I just produced a 007 last year, this past year, the T-Pause 007. But my adults are the Batik, the Goldeneye, the Goldeneye Ivory, and then the T-Pause, and then this clutch I got last summer was just absolutely insane because the variety in it was just nuts. Because there was the hidden genetics, and then there was also the multiple paternity and stuff like that. So I got some really nice teen eggs out of it. Got 2 teen egg golden eyes out of it, which
Very
those
cool.
are just, as they get older, they the T negative stuff isn't real impressive when they're babies,
It's kind of washed out a little.
Yeah, I mean, they're just kind of, they just look like a typical orange albino. But then as they get older, all that orange turns bright red, and then it's just a bright red and white snake. Really kind of unique when you think about albinos.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the teen eggs. I don't know. I'm a little bit more into the teen egg stuff, I guess, probably than the T positive stuff.
Yeah, there was a whole, I remember like 10, 15 years ago, there was a whole argument on whether T-Pos bloods or T-Neg bloods were actually hypo.
Yeah.
And like the argument back and forth, I'm sure someone's figured out now. I'm not hip to the nomenclature, but yeah, I think negative is definitely way cooler looking, and I'm not even an albino guy. So
yeah, no, when that Reptiles magazine first came out, actually, one of my trips to Crutchfields, I had that conversation with David Fowler. We were like, he's like, that's a hypo. That's not an albino.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I look at,
regardless, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's it's nice looking.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's cool, man. That's cool.
It's interesting. So yeah,
man.
So,
just something about that giant fat sausage snake that's just ivory bone color with the black accents, and dude, just Magpie for the win, Goldeneye 007 for the win.
Yeah, they're nice, man. Then they just, I guess I've always had a fascination too with some venomous stuff. I'm jealous of all your venomous stuff, Phil.
Don't be. It's a pain in the ass.
I mean, I've always liked the heavy body vipers, like the puff adders and the gaboons and rhino vipers and stuff like that. Just always impressed by those.
The venomous bloods, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Bloods, man.
Yeah. And there's a time, there's times though when I see some of those bloods get wild. I'm like, man, I wouldn't want to deal with that with 2-inch fangs.
Dude, and like the convergent evolution, man, is just uncanny. Like having had West African gaboons, East African gaboons, and Sumatran bloods at the same time, and like putting cages on the other side of the room with major labeling because they're the same. Like I have oak leaflet, knowing that okay, on the right is venomous, on the left is not. On the left, I can reach in and scoop her up and put her around my neck and be totally fine. The other one, no bueno.
Not so much.
And it's crazy, man. Like the similarities, just talking about that convergent evolution, like you were talking about the intelligence in bloods and like the not necessarily intelligence per se, but like they're thinking. And like
Yeah.
watching the eyes move without the snake
Yes.
move, and then Gaboons
That
do the same
alertness.
thing. Yeah, the alertness. Yeah. So I'm with you. I'm with you, man.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I had a singular experience in keeping, because I don't think it was a blood. I think it was a short tail. I honestly don't know. It was one of the two.
You mean a black blood?
Hey, that's what I grew up with.
Yeah, dude. On this show, they're black bloods. Go on.
Borneo bloods and black bloods, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It was a baby, and it just I've talked about it before, but like just that Jack in the Box, factor just drove me nuts.
Which is crazy because I was guilty of that too. And my buddy who bred too much in reds, excuse me. He told me, he's like, dude, just scoop up the Jack in the Box. I'm like, fuck you, man, no way. And then like I started doing it, and the snake was like, you got me.
Disarmed.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is. Bimbo is now, like, especially that male I have, dude. Like, he's the exact same way, where it's like I can tell he's getting tense, and I'm just waiting for him to do the little backflip that he does.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what's coming, and it's gonna just makes me freaking jump every time. I'm like, damn it. Like,
yeah, but Phil, you're right. You just got to scoop them. That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's it, man. Just got to scoop them.
It just doesn't work with a hook. It doesn't, I mean, you can tap them with a hook if you want to let them know that you're not food or whatever, but generally it's just, you just got to go in and just have confidence with them and scoop them.
Yeah.
That's really, a lot of it is just, just confidence with the animal, and then there's a few, like,
have you noticed I don't want to say temperament, because that's the wrong word. Cause like there is no such thing as aggressive snakes. It's all defensive, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yeah.
But have you noticed a difference in, for lack of a better synonym, temperament with morph bloods opposed to standard coloration? Like,
no,
you don't find that the Matrix or 007s are more alert because they know they're white or whatever?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't really see any differences with that at all. They run the gamut. Even in the clutch that I had, I mean, I've had, 90% of them are like, puppy dogs or whatever. They're just, now that I've worked with them, I made it a conscious effort, after I hatched them out, after I get them started and feeding and everything, to actually work with them and kind of, and handle them a little bit to kind of, so they weren't
a couple times a week thing.
Yeah. Just a little bit, I would just, sometimes just grab one, go sit out on the porch, chill and just take it out there and, and work with it a little bit. And, because when they come out of the egg, they're psychotic. I'll tell you right now, this is my first experience with them, and I've never seen a snake come out of an egg like that before.
Yeah, and good size eggs.
It was something else, and then they're all slimy and trying to I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, are you getting like those big old pine snake eggs?
Yeah,
they're getting more like carpet eggs.
No, the blood python eggs are pretty good. They're almost the size of ball python eggs.
Okay.
They're good size eggs. The girl that dropped, she was a 3-year-old, and she dropped 16 eggs.
Nice.
15 were fertile. One had weak veins, or it didn't show any veins. I could tell. I did a reel on when I pulled the eggs out, and you can literally see on the reel. I'm like, I put the flashlight on the egg, and you can see me go back to it, go, oh yeah, that one doesn't look quite right. And that one ended up going bad, but the 15 of them went pretty good. And so that was a good clutch for her.
Nice.
And,
you ever done MI with the bloods?
Have you done maternal period? Actually, is what I wanted to know too.
That I haven't, but after talking to Billy, I think I'm definitely going to try it. I'm most likely, if I try it, I'll try it with my carpet pythons first. I know Elijah Arbogast, he's done it with blood pythons. He's done maternal.
Nice. So, did he do anything special, like adding moss or wetting mulch or anything?
I don't know if he added wetting mulch, but I know he added a lot of moss and stuff like that, and just almost kind of like you'd set up like a nest box or something like that. So it's pretty cool.
I can only imagine the giant mound you have with a female wrapped around eggs like that.
I think it'd be cool as hell, man. I feel like most of us probably wouldn't even have a large enough enclosure to do it. Like, I remember my buddy Greg Bryant, he used to breed a ton of retics. Used to have the retic ranch, and he bred a bunch of Sumatran stuff over the years. And I remember he would keep the females in 3-foot visions. He'd pair them in 3-foot visions, and as soon as he saw them start to swell up, he would move retics around out of like 6 and 8-foot visions, and he would put a girl in there and just give her a mess of mulch and leaf litter and whatever crap he could buy from Home Depot, and they'd make a mound or whatever, and then he'd go in there really carefully and uncover anything. I don't think he ever let him do MI, but yeah, man, just the mound, it was like a mini king cobra nest, you know.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, no, I didn't do anything really special for this girl. I gave her a hide box, but she didn't really use it, so I ended up I left the hide, but I left the hide. I just gave her a hide box, and then I just naked checked box on a regular box. I mean, I use cocoa chip for bedding and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And she just kind of created like a little divot in there, and she was real chill, real easy to take out. I don't think I've had I think some of the angriest snakes I've removed off eggs have been ball pythons.
I believe it. Them and chondros, right?
Yeah.
Man. So you got any? I see you have some beautiful vivariums behind you. You got any short tail show and tell?
Yeah, I can bring out. I'll actually bring out some of the little ones.
Yeah. Man, that's a great looking stack of racks or a stack of vivs he's got.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Those are made by and just as I talk about their things, see, even this guy is super, super tame, but sometimes you take them out and they're just like they just love to hiss.
Yeah.
They love to
that's
the color's not real great, but this is the Pixel Karma.
That's so good looking, man. Dude, that snake is so cool. It's like
he is just, he's such a cool snake.
Yeah.
Just
like
such a
ivory.
He just has like a really orange peach color to him.
Yeah.
With some pink highlights and stuff like that.
And I love that dark, like that milk chocolate brown that's almost black.
Yep.
That's great, man.
Yeah, he's really cool.
How old is that?
Definitely.
Man?
This guy, he's produced in May. So I'm not doing the math.
All right.
But you can see right now. See, he's kind of like a little bit like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Today was supposed to be feed day for them, but I had some other stuff I was doing, so I didn't get around to feeding them. So who knows? Maybe they're a little PO'd from that.
Dude, it's such a cool looking snake, man.
This is the Karma Goldeneye.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. Look at the black on that.
She is absolutely gorgeous.
Reminds me of some of the was it the tiger retics?
Oh yeah.
I had a tiger retic and I had a super tiger that I got from Alan Cindy Baldogo, and that thing was just, oh my god, it was unreal.
I don't know, man. I think I like that look better than Super Tiger. I think that thing is so cool, man.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of.
And you said that was
GoldenEye stuff. That was the Karma GoldenEye.
Karma GoldenEye, nice.
Yeah. And
remember Trace a couple of years ago had some pumpkin heads that were very appealing.
I'm gonna torture you with a ball python thing. This is that one I was talking about, the albino pied, but she's got no white, so she has this really, really weird pattern. She's just got a little bit of white at the tip of her tail.
Oh,
but almost like an albino berm.
Yeah,
albino pattern.
Yeah, she does exactly. Yeah.
Very cool, man.
I've never had good luck with albino berms. Every albino berm I ever had was pretty nasty. I'll bring one more out.
Am I wrong in thinking that retics are more enjoyable than berms, just in terms of like?
I found them that.
Yeah, I'd agree.
This is a GoldenEye, but it's a T negative GoldenEye, and right now he's really orange, but as he gets older, he's gonna get a lot of red in him and stuff.
You can see it in his face, man.
And he's got really, really nice striping and stuff.
Yeah.
Really happy with this guy. And I feed my snakes well. I don't power feed them, but I definitely feed my juveniles. I really believe in taking advantage of like that first 2-year growth spurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they're once they start getting to that point where, they're not putting on length anymore and they're putting on girth, that's when I slow, I just back them down to,
Do you slow down in winter, like a lack of availability of food in the wild, or no?
Not for my juveniles,
Okay.
but for my adults, I do. Or even like my sub-adults. I look at it as like, I don't know, getting them ready for like cycling or something like that.
Sure.
Like it was one of the things I think, I did a reel with my blackhead the other day, and I could not believe how big she was, honestly, because sometimes, in there, she's got a nice big hollow cork log that she'll just sit inside the thing. And, sometimes I won't see her for a while. And
you take out the whole, you got to clean the cage, take the whole cork thing out, and she just stays.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I pick the whole thing up, set it down. She'll stay right in it.
Yeah.
But she does come out and prowl a little bit, and a little bit more because I haven't been feeding her this winter because I want her to be ready. I think her and the male will be ready to go next year. We'll see. But I feel like she's put on more size, even though I haven't been feeding her.
Sure.
And I've heard that Eugene Bassett has said that before, like when he was breeding Burms, that sometimes they would put on growth. So I don't know.
That's cool, man. It's very cool.
Like, I slow some of my animals down with their feeding, and I still get pretty good growth out of them and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not pushing them. I'm not pushing them. It's just that's my style of keeping. I think everybody's got their own style.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And I'm with you on the whole first 2 years thing. And so I got puff adder babies that are just at the 2-year mark, like right about now, or maybe even in the next couple months. And I always been feeding them once a week. I might skip a week every couple months or whatever, just because of life. But I hadn't fed them in probably about a month because it's been cold and I don't want them to regurge. I don't have any heat. They're just on the ambient. Yeah. And man, I went up there the other day just to take a gander, and they're like doubled in size from not eating for a month. So
I believe it. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird.
Right at that 2-year mark, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think these animals are just so much more resilient, than we think. I think people sometimes are a little too sensitive about, we're going to hurt them if we do this. And, I don't know. Like I said, that's just my style. I just personally, that first 18 months to 2 years, I really, it's not like the old days. Like the old days, you're feeding them like, every 3 to 4 days, I don't do that anymore. That was crazy. I definitely like, taking advantage of it. I just think it sets them up better for life. I think in the wild, the animals that are able to grab as much food as they can when they're young, not only do they have a better chance of surviving, but I think they make better breeders and stuff like that. That's just, kind of my opinion. Survival of the fittest, I mean.
Yeah. And like thinking about the difference in what they're eating in North Shore Sumatra is going to be ground skinks and stuff like that, opposed to us giving them a nice fatty wrap pump.
Yeah.
So,
So,
that's cool, man.
I mean, I think sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes, like, I hear a lot of people talk about like the comparisons with like, wild stuff and what they're doing in the wild and stuff like that. And, maybe feeding less to match that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, are we giving them massive meals? I don't know if you saw that photo from one of the Australian Woma research groups where they have a Woma python that is swallowing a rabbit, and I mean, this thing is it's massive. It's massive. I can send it to one of you guys through Instagram or whatever. And it's pretty impressive. You just wouldn't think of a Woma, eating something like that, but man, when it's food, they'll take a chance to grab it.
I think there's definitely a sort of a happy medium It's like I say that a lot of like natural history to me is the best care sheet because it's such a good baseline like foundation for what to do with the species. And at the same time, there's with anything in nature, like there's exemptions and there's exceptions and outliers. And a WOMA, like when you're out there, you get what you get, and if that's what you got, like I'd be trying to go for it if I were in that position. So it is what it is. But
I would never certainly try feeding my WOMA something that big, but it was pretty impressive. Now I do every once in a while, like I'll let some of my snake go a little bit longer, and then maybe give them a big meal or something.
Sure, change it up a little bit.
Yeah, change it up a little bit. You
ever do birds with the bloods or no?
No, I haven't. No. Well, actually, I take that back. Actually, that teenage goldeneye that I brought out, he was a pill. He would not get started on anything. I tried all the usual stuff, hoppers, fuzzy rats and stuff like that, live, dead, whatever. Nothing was working. So I was like, I called up my buddy George. I'm like, dude, man, because he has a lot of tree monitors and stuff, and he gets quail from Jason Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew he had some quail. So I'm like, dude, man, can I get some of those quail off you? And so first feeding, I offered a quail, and this is after like over a month of, a month and a half of not eating anything, and just wolfed it up.
Nice.
Absolutely wolfed it up. So next feeding, what I did is I gave him, a rat fuzzy, but this time I just, I washed it, washed it with that scentless soap or whatever. Gary Chavino's talked about it on his things before. And so I washed it. Then I sprinkled the quail hair, the quail down on it. And that worked. And then, so next time I didn't wash it, put quail down on it, got him, took that one. And then the very next one just gave him just a rat pup and got him switched over. And now he's just been a monster,
Hell yeah.
So,
That's
to
awesome.
me, like, like if I'm lucky enough to get carpets this year or whatever, or even with the bloods or whatever, I think it's good to have some quail on hand.
Sure.
Those little button quail get them started and stuff. So
even if you just get a yellow chicken chick, just to pluck fuzz off,
Yeah.
I mean, I had many moons ago, I didn't really do any birds at all, and I guess I needed something, and underground was out, and they're like, oh, I got chicks. I was like, oh, just give me one just in case, or give me like 2 or 3, and I kept one just so I could pluck fuzz if I ever needed it,
Yeah, good idea. Yep. Actually, my first ever albino Burmese python that I got from local pet store, that thing would eat nothing but chicken.
Oh, really?
It would not. Yeah, it wouldn't touch rats. It would only eat chickens.
So so those baby bloods, you're going right to rat fuzzy, rat pup size prey, or are you going a little smaller first?
I try to this year. What I did is I tried because I'm breeding the rats. So I tried the fuzzy rats. Some of them took it right away. Started with live. Some of them took the live ones right away.
Cool.
What I did is I put them in sphagomoss. So I got them in the hatching rack, sphagomoss in there. So they're underneath it. They feel secure and stuff like that. And then just put the live rat pup in, and some of them took it, but some of them didn't. So the ones that weren't interested, I went with live hoppers. That worked.
Just something just a little smaller.
Yeah, a little bit smaller and a little bit more active too.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the activity level, that I think that more than anything, that seemed to work really well. And probably 2 or 3 feedings on the hoppers, and then they switched right over to, feeding on the rat fuzzes and then the rat pups. I did have one, my T positive 007. That one really got hung up on the mice. Like it just liked the mice. And so then I literally had to scent the rat pups with mouse, mouse hair and stuff. And eventually she got switched over, and that snake's a pretty cool one, just because it was one of the ones that obviously I didn't know that T-Paws gene was in the Batik female. And that was actually one of my goals for my other breeding when I was breeding the Goldeneye Ivory het T-Paws to the T-Paws girl. main breeding was I wanted to get a female T-Paws 007 out of that. And that pair didn't go last year. And I ended up getting it out of this other clutch. So that was pretty wild.
It's cool, man.
It's kind of weird how things happen.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, she's doing, actually, let me grab her real quick.
Yeah, let's do that. I love blood python show and tell. What are the hopefully you can still hear us. What are the pink strips on the black Vivs?
That's their labels.
Oh, okay, cool.
So pink is, they're all the females.
Oh, nice.
So this is my little surprise girl.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, she's really cool. She's got a real cool golden color to her. And yeah, just a real cool snake, you know. And yeah, she's doing good.
Nice.
Do you find overall that they're a little more mellow when you keep them cooler rather than warmer?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I keep my juveniles like in this rack a little bit warmer than I would like say my sub-adults.
Yeah.
Because they're eating a little bit more, but not just their like demeanor, but they'll pace a little bit. Like they'll get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of that was when I moved 2 of my bloods into the bigger cages. That was one thing I had to dial in a little bit, was making sure it wasn't too hot for them. You know, and getting that, you know, and when I had them stacked on top of each other, one was getting a little bit more heat because the heat panel that was underneath was radiating up underneath.
Yeah.
So when I eventually was able to have both of them, you know, on the bottom, you know, it's much easier to control the temperature that way. And, you know, it's been much better since then. You know, that being said, I think going forward with blood pythons, I'm probably going to use racks more often than display cages. It just seems to be easier, maintaining the humidity and stuff like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So, but
yeah, it's incredible with like Pituophis, like the difference in overall demeanor between keeping them too warm and keeping them cooler, and like they're almost completely different animals.
Yeah, my dad had a good little group of Pituophis, you know, really nice. Kingsville by Red, or nice. Kingsville Red by Stillwater Hypo.
Yeah.
He got it from the Peace River guys, and you know, I don't know what happened to them, but back when in the mid 2000s and stuff, they were always at like the Tampa show and stuff like that. They just had some. Dad bought a lot of stuff off of them. They had some amazing animals, and you know, he had a real good group. You know, for me, that's, you know, one of the Klubas I really like. They make a mess though.
Yeah.
They really like to paint the walls, you know.
For sure.
What are you keeping Kaluba was currently?
Just the
yellow.
Yeah, just the yellow rat right now, and you know, I don't know. I guess my blackheads and womas are sort of colubrids. They're colubrid adjacent.
Yeah.
You know, so, but
well, once legend has it that once you get rhinos, forget everything else exists.
I don't know, man. I'm an oxy guy.
Ooh.
I mean, those are cool too. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was one of those ones, just seeing them in books and stuff like that. And you know, one thing I do like though is my buddy George has got some of those melanistic Jansenii. Oh my god! And one of his has this weird, like under its chin, it's like bright orange or something like that. Oh. So I don't know, man. It's kind of interesting to, you know, if those are, you know, going to be just a different locality, or is it like a morph, or to me, I think it's a locality thing, because they all seem to come from Sulawesi, you know. So, but yeah, it's pretty wild. So he's got I think a group of 4 he's trying to work with. So those things are pretty cool. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. As of the last, you know, year or two, it seems like there's a lot of people have been getting into the oxys and the Jansenii, and I'm sure that giant wave of the black Jansenii coming in import wise, you know, there was like a 9-month period where they were just everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I think a handful of the right people got them, that'll be really successful with them.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, when it comes with anything imported, you're living on borrowed time, basically.
Well, especially with those, because you're dealing with an animal that's just so high strung.
Yep.
Even the captive bred ones, I feel like are still, they don't enjoy your presence, no matter like in any capacity, So
yeah,
it's definitely an uphill battle when you're dealing with not only the imported animals but adults at that. If they were younger animals, I feel like it's a much smoother ride. But you're getting an adult Gonyosoma, it's you definitely got to have a lot of patience and be okay with the fact that you're probably not going to see it that much. But if you're not seeing it, it's probably happy. And
exactly.
Gonna do better. So
exactly, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Those high strung things like scrub pythons. Oh, I miss my scrubs. I had some really nice barnecks in the mid '90s. I had a really nice 12-footer male. It was tame, huge head on him too, just super tame until he got an RI, and I had to treat him. And I give my dad a lot of credit, like for a guy that's not used to like dealing with snakes and stuff like that. He had to get the head holding duty for like my retic. That retic I had got an RI, but that's when it was like 12 feet long. Same thing with this scrub, but after a round of antibiotics, that scrub hated me after that. Oh my god, it was just it was evil. So I got to the point where I was getting like a trash bag and basically hook it up, get him into the trash bag, or not trash bag, trash can, and then then I forgot to put the cover down one time, and he got out into my bedroom. I've got this 12-foot angry scrub python underneath my bureau, just lunging away. The strike range is really, really freaky. And there's sometimes when I see some of the bite wounds from some of these like some of the retics and scrubs and stuff, and I'm like, man, I had no clue back then. I really had wasn't worried about it at all. I don't know. I think I was just lucky. I had good luck with a lot of my snakes, or maybe I just did a good job of picking them out, picking the mellow ones out or whatever.
I think it's also like a calming thing. Like, as long as you're not messing with them perpetually and stressing them out, like there's really no reason for them to lash out,
Yeah, exactly.
I was amazed at the reach on that tandem bar when I had it. I was not prepared for that. I was like, it'll be fine. And then like whizzing by my face, I was like, holy shit. I'm like freaking 4 feet out from this thing, and it's just don't roll your eyes, Phil.
It was that we took him out at Daytona. That's why. That was hindsight. That was the catalyst. If we just left him in the bag, you would have took him home and it would have been fine. But because we had to look at him and like see him in the hotel room, that's what did it. That flipped the switch.
I took it out and I was like, shit, how do I get it back in the bag? I'm like both hands on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit.
That's funny.
Now I can't. And I was like trying to get someone to help me, and no one would. Everyone was just laughing at me.
We helped you.
No one helped me.
We helped you. I helped you.
Well, I'll have you know that Wyman has reported that snake is just as bad as I reported. So
I don't get it, man. I mean,
the pictures of his teenager holding it and stuff, and him laughing at me and being like, "Dude, this thing's super mellow." Those days are gone. He said it is not that snake. Just like that little radiated rat that I held on to for Billy for a bit.
Oh, here we go.
He's like, dude, this thing's super mellow. It's fine. I'm like, it wasn't.
I held that snake. That snake was chill. It was a radiated rat.
I feel like the guy that's at the bar that said he saw a UFO, and no one believes him, but he saw it. It was real.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, sure you did, dude.
It's like, that's why if you see skunk ape or Sasquatch, you don't tell people. You just know in your heart.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I saw what I saw.
I saw. Oh man.
But yeah, I think new thing though, man, I'm just all about locality chondros too. Like stoked on these sarongs. Definitely got to get some Biox. I really love Biox. I mean, that was that's what my female was. I also had a Lyra.
Mhm.
They look very much like sarongs, so, but
I've come to find that Maniquardi is probably going to be my favorite.
yeah, yeah.
That's just the one that every time I see him, I just gravitate towards it.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the Pulcher stuff is just really, really nice looking.
Mhm.
That blue stripe, those blue triangles, they're sharp.
I love that chalky blue you get too, like that really light, like literally looks like chalk paint kind of look to them.
Yeah, they're sharp.
Street chalk.
Yeah.
Blue street chalk. Yeah, asphalt chalk when you're a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just have the sarongs right now, or you have more?
Yeah, I got the sarongs right now. Got a buddy that he's looking to get rid of. He's got I think it's an Aru by Jayapura cross. Probably going to pick that up in March, I think. And
which should be an awesome looking animal, because I'm not a conjure guy at all. I've seen a fair bit of them in my day, but I really feel like people that are focusing on Jaya stuff, like everyone thinks I'm jumbling my words here. Everyone thinks that Jayapura is like a place, like an individual place. And like you look at the region on a map, like the state or the province or whatever they call it, the province of Jayapura is like massive. It's like the size of Texas. It's huge.
Yeah.
So like all the different localities and phenotypes that could come out of that one northern region.
Yeah.
Like sky's the limit, man.
Yeah.
So
lots of variety.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then you throw Aru in there. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. So it should look pretty cool. That might be my only mutt chondro.
At least like mom and dad was dead. Like, you know what I mean? At least it's 50-50. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's always difficult when like mom was a designer, dad was just straight Aru, and like you just don't know, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna try and stick as close to the locality stuff as I can. That's just because that's really what I like. It's what I like to look. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the look of the designer stuff too. Unreal. I just think for what I want.
Some of the focus has just gotten too heavy on some of the designer stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Couple lines that people just hyper focused on, and it's. I mean, they're all awesome. Like I've said it once, I'll say it again. There's no such thing as an ugly green tree. Whether it's designer or locality, like it just exists. So it's I have a heavy appreciation for both, but Billy Hunt said too, it's a shame that no one's put more effort into sort of trying to develop their own line over time with some of the locality stuff and whatnot, instead of building upon what's already existed. Try and deviate and crank out something different. And then the locality, like people focused on the locality stuff, definitely seems to come in sort of waves, I guess. Like when I got into chondros, which was 2017 is when I got the first one. There was a couple guys that were solely focused on some of the locality stuff, and then it seemed like they kind of tapered away over time, and designers came back into the focus, and then it sort of comes and goes. It's an odd one, and I know it's definitely not getting any easier. COVID didn't help with the imports of green trees and stuff, outside of
for sure.
It just so that put a big damper on the locality stuff, because I think a lot of that localities outside of Biox like just stopped coming in almost entirely. So
for sure. When's the last time you seen a Maruki? I mean, seriously, I don't know. I look at like Malukan pythons, like I had a really, really nice male. Ended up getting a little female for him too that I was hoping to raise up, but then that, when I had to sell everything off 2010, that went wayside. But man, I traded a buddy of mine one of my BMX frames for it, and like back then they were like, I mean, the female that I got to pair him up, I bought captive hatch, just gorgeous looking 150. You know, like I just, and it's not even just the price of them now, but it's just they're not there. Like
Yeah.
they weren't that hard to get. You know, I mean, I remember, you know, I mean, they were kind of getting some popularity. You know, there was that Rolf Kern was, I think, one of the first guys to breed them, and that was a pretty big deal when he bred them back in the day, the Morelia Python forums and stuff.
Hey man, I paid $80 for my first one.
Yeah,
I just
definitely
hold that till the day I die because it'll never happen again.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
And it was honestly, he was one of my coolest snakes too. He was super tame, super chill. Like literally, just reach in, grab him.
Almost the perfect python.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just temperament, feeding, size, color. Like it checked every box.
Yeah, Moluccans are, you know, for as much of a scrub python as they are, they're a little. I don't know. The ones I've experienced have just been a little different than, you know. Although I had some Southerns too that were pretty cool, but they were like cool in the sense that you had to handle them the right way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you couldn't just go in there and grab them. You had to like, you know, you really had to kind of, you know.
You had to know snakes to be cool with it. While as the Moluccan, you could hand it to whoever.
Pretty much, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Yeah, but
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So,
are you planning to get into any more colubrids outside of the yellow, or is that going to be?
That's honestly probably going to be it. You know, I may end up getting like a nice OKT. Eventually. You know, I may add some here or there. But I've still got so many things I want to do, like, you know, as far as like Python wise, and, you know, and boa wise, you know, and room for like holdbacks. You know, that's it's a big thing is, you know, that's one of the main reason I like breeding is just those rare animals that you get, you know, that are just special. And you're just like, wow, man, I can't believe I hashed that out. That's pretty cool. You know, and you know, sometimes some of the aberrant stuff that comes out, you know, I think that's one of the things I like about coastal carpets, you know, is you know, coastals can throw you some really cool stuff, you know. So
you did it with bloods, man. Like talk about aberrant, like
that clutch was nuts.
Yeah, dude, just
it was
craziest, the Rorschach test of snakes.
Yeah. So I just, you know, as long as I'm just keeping the stuff that I enjoy and just having fun with this, you know, there's no going back to BMX and motocross anymore. You know, that's what I was able to, you know, when I had to take time away from, you know, snake keeping, at least I had those, because those were equally as a passion growing up as, you know, as reptiles and stuff. So at least I had those to fall up on, but, you know, I'm almost 52, man. Like, you know, my body's pretty much at this point like, dude, yeah, no, we're done.
What you got to do is you got to get like a little 250cc just to drive through the woods herping.
Yeah, it just never ends up that way.
Yeah,
you know, you know, it starts out, you know, oh yeah, you know, all of us friends are they're all getting 4-wheelers and stuff. Oh, all right, I'm just gonna get this dirt bike, and like I said, in surgery for a collarbone, getting plated up and stuff, and
nice. Well, it's like my one buddy that I told you that bred bloods. You know, he got into golf cart renovation because in his community everyone just has golf carts. So he would buy a total junker for like $200, and then he would put probably about $1,000 worth of parts and labor into the golf cart, and then he'd sell it for like $2,000. You know, make some money and nothing crazy, just normal, usable for around the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And then somebody told him about these like 60cc electronic bikes, and dude, I gotta be honest, man, I'm tempted just for the glades, just for herping.
Yeah,
because like they're not that loud, right? I think it's like
no electric's
three gears or something, you know.
Yeah.
And dude, why not
get 30 miles to the gallon on this haul?
I had a big June bug on my way in.
Yeah,
trading a kid in town for it.
Yeah,
even the van straight up,
bling bling. But yeah, man, I always think about that. I'm like, man, we are hiking like miles and miles on these levees Imagine if you had a little electric dirt bike.
Yeah. Yeah, they make them. They've got them.
Yeah.
They got little ones out there. That's a lot of the younger riders. That's what they're doing, is raising them up on like KTM and stuff. They're making the electric, like what replaces the 50s and the 65s.
Yeah.
They've got electric and stuff like that, and they even have Stark has a full size, like full on motocross electric bike and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Just pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally see Canon.
And they're silent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're quiet. Just don't want to run out of battery out there, though.
Yeah. Right. Well, you just throw an extra one in your backpack.
Yeah, so.
Cannon would totally get a little bike and ride around when he herps in the glades.
Dude, I'd get my fat ass on a little bike. You know what I mean? Sure as hell beats pedaling.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So.
Are you vending Daytona this year?
I don't know, because I don't know if my wife and I are kind of on the fence on that one. I mean, we're definitely gonna get the hotels again. I mean, we live 40 minutes away from Daytona, so normally I never stayed over. And last year, that was the first year we stayed over, and it was like, and then because we worked at my buddy George's table, and oh my God, man, everything just went by so quick. It was like, the weekend went by before I could even tell. It was good for me to get some experience, so that's for sure.
Yeah.
I know one of my things I was worried about is handling snakes and stuff. I have an essential tremor in my hand, so I'm always worried about, like, am I going to handle, is my hand going to be shaking when I'm like showing these people the snakes and stuff? And nah, man, once I was in the groove and we were there and everything was great, so it went really good. I'd like to, I just don't know what I'd have available. I mean, honestly, with the economy being so bad last year, I didn't think I was going to sell any snakes, but I actually only have one left. I still have 4 to ship out. I'm shipping one out tomorrow, but I actually ended up selling all the bloods and surprisingly all the ball pythons. That's the ones I really thought I was going to get stuck with. But yeah, I had no problems selling them on Morph Market and stuff. And so yeah, so it just depends, if we can. There's kind of like that fine line where you got to let Wayne know to get a table, or else you're going to be buried somewhere and just not get one.
Yeah.
So I gotta see some signs that some of these girls are going to ovulate or something, so I got, the 2 blood pairs going. I've got a pair of boas going. I've got the carpets going, but I don't really, they need another year, I think. I mean, the female, I think, has got the size, but I think just maturity wise, they need another year.
Yeah.
And I've got like 2 ball python pairings, so I mean, I don't need a lot. If we could just do one table and just, have some stuff to vend, that'll be cool. But if not, we're gonna enjoy just the weekend. We're gonna stay Thursday. Probably start staying over Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday night. And if we don't have to worry about vending this year, then I'm gonna try and do more social stuff. That's something that kind of I was. My early years of herping and stuff, like I said, I was kind of like intimidated by Tommy and stuff like that. And, I was just kind of an introvert. And, I went to all the Central Florida, Herp Society meetings and stuff like that. Those when they were at Edgewater High School, that was just awesome, and, but I was always, just kind of like there. I didn't really kind of put myself out there and, interact with the people as much as I would have liked to. And now I'm trying to do that more. I'm trying to get out there and, meet more people and stuff.
A little more proactive.
Yeah. And just enjoy the camaraderie, with people that enjoy the same thing I do, so I've definitely, come out of my shell a lot more this time around, I think just because I've been away for so long, or, I can just talk reptiles forever.
Yeah,
for sure.
Last year was the first year that my wife went, and she was surprised at how magically social I was, because like anytime we go anyone else and it's not reptile related,
Yeah.
I usually don't talk. I'm usually not a big talker. Like small
Yeah.
talk to me, especially with people I
Yeah.
don't know, is like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
But like she saw me at Daytona and she's like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah.
Night and day. And I'm like, it's
Yeah.
my people, man. It's my tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the way I look at it now, you know. I don't know. Before I you know, I don't know. I just was very introverted, you know, and now I'm just trying to literally enjoy every little bit of it as I can. You know, I mean, that's one thing I think, you know, it wasn't taken away by, you know, it wasn't my choice. You know, we had to do what was right for our family at the time. You know, we sold everything and it was like we were just kind of getting started too, you know. I mean, you know, 2009, that was, you know, a killer year for me. And then the very next year, 2010, we were having to sell everything off, you know. This time, you know, it's more of a family thing too. You know, my wife is way more involved in it than she was. You know, my daughter's even got her own little leopard gecko, and I actually love watching the thing hunt down some crickets because she only gives it crickets every once in a while for a treat. You know, normally feeds it mealworms. I'll just sit there and watch that thing and just be entertained.
Dude, it is entertaining to watch those things go.
Yeah, you know, so you know, it's cool. You know,
That's awesome, man.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. You know,
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I realize life is actually a lot like a game of Monopoly, where it's like you're gonna periodically you're gonna get set back. It's gonna happen.
yeah,
Whether you
yeah,
want it
for
or
sure.
not. Like
Yep,
it's coming.
yeah,
Just mentally prepare yourself, you know.
yep. But if it's something you really love, you just find a way to get back in there, and you know, and honestly, for me now, it's better than it's ever been. You know, I mean, I had some awesome experiences when I was younger. I was lucky, you know, you know, to have, you know, the big National Reptile Breeders Expo near here, and places like Crutchfields, and really see some just, you know, really crazy stuff, you know, and just some interesting things. You know, I felt like I was spoiled, you know, that I got to see the best of both worlds. You know, I had that early time where it was kind of like the Wild Wild West a little bit, a lot of freedom. You know, may not have as much of that now, but man, there's just the quality of animals is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd imagine it gives you a lot of appreciation for what we have now, just in terms of like information and technology and things like that. You know, when you've seen the gamut of how things have changed since then, and the improvement of how things are kept and stuff like that. Just overall, like seeing that whole just growth and transition of things in the hobby has been, I'm sure it's been really cool to see. You know, as a kid, and they're like, I was born in '90, so you know, early 2000s, I was a kid, but I was old enough to remember a lot of that stuff when I had leopard geckos and uromastics and chameleons and stuff, and used to scour king snake and stuff religiously, and like having a taste of that, of sort of what you're talking about, and not being as into it as you were in terms of, you know, breeding and going out and meeting people and stuff like that, and just the little, you know, the little sample I had as a kid, and seeing it now has been pretty wild. So I can only imagine it's even more so for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's, you know, there's some bad things that come with it, but man, honestly, just the good things overpower it, to be honest with you. I mean, there's, you know, there's just some, you know, amazing animals out there. It's just, you know, the quality of the caging, you know.
Dude, PVC. Who'd have thought we would ever use PVC?
Yeah, it works great though. It's, you know, I still remember making wood cages, and oh man, God, that was not
300-pound melamine.
You know, and look, the nostalgia. I love my neodicias, man. But they weren't, you know, they were kind of, you know, they weren't the most functional things in the world. And you know, honestly, when I used those, the only heat I used was a heat lamp. You know, I used like a 40-watt GE reveal bulb on like my 3-footers, and the 4-footers. You know, even with my gravid carpet python, you know, she only had heat during the day, no heat at night, no problems. So that's crazy.
Wow.
You know, so
did you have the special Neodesha rack that held the triangular cages in it?
No, I made my own.
Oh, nice.
Out of
nice.
wood, yeah. Out of 2x2s. Yeah, I made my own little rack for my 3-footers and for the 4-footers. And I actually had an 8-footer for a big tiger retic I had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's big glass, man.
Dude,
That's
that
big
thing
glass.
yeah, that was some money, man. And
Yeah.
then remember the guy with the freight company coming to bring it. And at the time we were living with my wife's parents and my in-laws, and we were living like up above the garage. It was like a mother-daughter home or whatever. And so we had to we couldn't bring it through the stairs because the stairs were super narrow and tight. So we had a sliding glass door up top, and we had to then use a rope, pull it up through there. Oh, what a process.
Wow.
Yeah, what a process that was, but yeah, that was a killer cage though, man.
That's cool, man.
I loved it, man. I used them when I was keeping the the couple venomous things I was keeping, and
yeah,
in my opinion, I mean, personally, granted, I haven't used visions or anything like that, but in terms of like the perfect setup for venomous, in terms of like one way in, one way out, like simplicity of the design, frills, like the only thing I had wished was sort of the awkward slant of the tops.
Yeah,
to
or
lighting,
the lip in the bottom that would crack and break.
Yeah.
The little fringe at the bottom that would snap off.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I was like, for venomous, I'm like, this is, to me, like, why bother getting anything else? I mean, it was perfect for what I was keeping, which the Aatrox and stuff like that. I like the fact that it was easily lockable. The single pane on the smaller cage, like smaller sizes and stuff. I was like, I don't really want to use anything else. It came to that, just because it was just so simple in design and things like that. And
if you ever broke glass, you just went and bought more glass. Like, it wasn't any special glass. It was
exactly.
Yeah, that was great.
That glass was tough though. That was tempered glass. It was thick. It was that's those cages were definitely durable. It's pretty cool, the rounded edges on the inside and stuff. Everything super easy to clean and all that stuff. So they were pretty cool. But yeah, I love my new PVCs. I like the look of them and everything, and I like having the heat panels. That's what I'm running for. From heat, and then the only thing I really don't like is maybe the LED light isn't as good as the old incandescent lights. The nice. I used to get those GE reveals, and they're just, oh man, especially when you get something as iridescent as a retic or something like that.
Light just dances right off of them.
It really does, though.
It really does.
Yeah, it's just insane. Man. Yeah, so I think that's probably why I like the IMGs so much. Is, man, they just you get those IMGs out, especially the IMG Celtic one that I have, and man, they just glow. It's just so cool.
Yeah,
they're just So
there's just something about that morph, man. I see him at the tables at Daytona and stuff like that. And it's just like, God, that's. You could put it in, it seems like you could put it in anything and it's going to make it cooler.
Yeah, and it really works good with VPI too. The VPI T-Pause stuff. It just and they all kind of look a little different too. Like when you mix it with that. Depending on if you have hypo in there or something else. I got a good little, thanks to my buddy Tim at Midnight Constrictors, I got a nice little army of VPI T-Pause from him. I got like 2 VPI Aztecs and a regular VPI girl that just, I guarantee they're all possible het for Anery, but I guarantee she's got to be Anery. She is so like whitish looking, she almost has like a lemon glow to her. It's just, it's insane. So they're just such beautiful snakes.
Just for the people listening at home and watching this is a bad picture, but like, here's IMG VPI Jungle Motley, and it's killer.
Yeah, it's so nice. Yep,
so nice.
Yeah, they're just really cool snakes. And I've never bred boas before, so honestly, if I don't breed anything this year, I just would at least like to get that boa litter. And the male has been doing his job. He has just been, from the get-go, he was just all over her, constantly courting her, constantly breeding her. He slowed down a little bit, and then he's picked back up. She just went through a shed cycle. So
Nice.
I'm hoping maybe in February or something, get an ovulation out of her. So I noticed after the shed cycle, she definitely looked a little bit thicker down on the back end. So yeah, keep my fingers crossed. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I just, that pair goes, I'm happy.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I love how you don't have to fuss. Like, you just come home and there's babies and goo. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who's better than you? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
No worry about incubation or media or temperatures or humidity. Just make sure mom doesn't squish any.
That's why I'm excited about those rough scales, man. Like, I've never bred a live bear, so it's
gonna be awesome.
Completely new thing to me. I mean,
you have them together now or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be a while, but
what do you got? Like another year or 2 years?
You got one that's ready to go right now, right?
I've got that adult male that's like a 2018, but my other two females, they're 2024s, so they're going to be.
Oh, okay, yeah, they get a little
26 before I could even think about trying it. But hopefully, my plan is to, at some point within the next year or so, get my hands on an adult female or a nearing adult female
to go with that male.
Try that, yeah. So we'll see. Maybe we'll actually eat sometime between now and then.
Yeah, of all the sand boas, I definitely like Conicus the best. I think they're cool looking. Their pattern is just wild. It's a very viper pattern.
I get the feeling that they're kind of in the same boat as IJs were. Where it's like the selective breeding and stuff. We're just scratching the surface. Like, it's uncharted territory.
Yeah, I think so.
Can be done there.
You've got pattern and you got color you can work with.
Mm-hmm. Even the variation in the three that I have that are siblings, one of the females is like this just wild, like orangish cream, it's getting brighter and brighter, like as it goes. And then, the male's much more muted with, more of a sort of a gray base color. And, the other female's sort of in the middle. And the adult male that I have, he's a little underwhelming as far as color and stuff goes, but there's just seeing what other people are doing as far as what they're producing within the last year or so. Like, there's a lot of variation going on there.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to see sort of if those things progress and get a little more popular.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah. But we are at the 2-hour mark. Phil, did you have anything else?
No, man, we touched base. One last thing. Still got the ring pythons?
I do not. Oh God, that's the worst thing.
Sorry, man. I was like waiting. I was like, maybe I'm
not having them the worst, or was having them?
Yeah. Because like they were so common back then. Like, you were able to get them pretty easy, and I made out pretty good. This was when I didn't want to do spiders anymore. My local pet shop down here. I took the male spider and I talked to the owner. I'm like, hey man, it's a proven breeder or whatever. You trade me those 2 ring pythons and the green tree python, which ended up being my male breeder. And I got even trade. And
that's pretty awesome, man.
They were cool. I mean, I've heard they can be nippy or whatever, but mine were super, super docile. I took them out a lot because I had them in a. They were small, so I had them in a small rack, and I would take them out just because that color just was like
crazy.
I mean, this is. I saw them in this thing. This is my Bible right here.
That's it.
This is literally. I actually got this on my first ever trip to Crutchfields in '92, and this is, of all my troubles or whatever, this thing has never left me, and it's probably the biggest impact and just. Seeing those things, and I like the adult ring pythons too. Like, that's really another one I want to add, because I really like the way the adults look. The babies are cool as hell, but I actually really like the adults, I love that look to them. They're just, very interesting looking pythons. And, mine were pretty easy to keep. Unfortunately, it was like, in the apartment, I only had so much room and I had some holdbacks, I decided to sell them because I had some holdback ball pythons I needed. And, I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to get them again and whatever. And, yeah. And now, getting back in, it's like, a lot of those things like ring pythons and savus, man, I could not believe how hard they are to get now. So yeah, unfortunately, no, I don't have them.
So I remember when savus were like $200.
Yeah,
man.
Man.
One of my big regrets as a young adult with a job and little in the way of bills and financial responsibilities was not getting my hands on some of those, because same thing. I was like, I'll get some eventually.
Yeah. They're back where they began. When they first came in, they were like, I think Crutchfield had them on his list for like $13.75 or something like that. So they were pretty pricey when they first started coming in, and then they got, pretty common and stuff. And, now they're back up there. So
yeah. Good stuff, man. Very good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If people want to see the bloods and everything, where's the best place for them to do that?
Probably just be Arbogast Reptiles at Instagram. I don't really post a lot on Facebook. I literally got Facebook just so I can go visit some of the groups. And then when I visited them, I realized some of them were train wrecks. So
Lisa said there's rings on fauna for $750.
What's that?
Lisa said there's rings on fauna for $750.
Oh, really? Fauna's been weird lately.
I keep forgetting my damn login, so I don't bother to check there anymore because I can't see it.
Do a recovery, man.
I've done that like 5 times and I keep forgetting my password. And
I forgot that I put
myself out and I give up.
I forgot that I put save searches in. So like once a month I'll get a ba-bing and I'll be like, what the hell is that sound? I don't know that sound. And I look and it's like River Road X Anery Subocularis. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I was looking for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a colubrid I really like. I don't think I could keep them, but subocs are, oh man, really, really nice. The first side. I can't believe they used to be so common, like in the early years of the Orlando shows, like, they were around a lot, and I remember, coming back my first Daytona, it was 2022. When I came back and I was like, man, I don't see any. And then I saw our silver one. I was like, oh, wow, that thing is just gorgeous. It was literally one of the best snakes I saw all weekend.
It's kind of a boom or bust thing with those. Like they're either readily available for a given period of time or they're just non-existent. It's a weird feast or famine kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, beautiful snakes.
But hopefully we'll make more.
Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah.
Well, we will be back Thursday for Arachnerds episode 6. So for you, my fellow arachnid people can get their fix. I believe Jake told me that they were working on a flippin' tin, something coming up here soon. He didn't tell me when exactly, but it sounds like they were working on it. So be on the lookout for that. As always, this episode is brought to you by FullViewsApparel.com. Use that code THN at checkout. Get 15% off your order. Like I said, I just added hats. I made me another Bacillotheria hat because I attempted to wash my old one because it had a pretty gnarly sweat stain on it, and it did not survive the wash. So if you get patch hats, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, don't wash them. I think washing structured hats, period, doesn't really work. No. Every time I've tried it, they ruined. So my suggestion is when it's time for a new one, just get a new one. I've tried multiple times, and it does not work out. Every time I do it, I think that this is going to be the one that it'll work, and I'll wash it, and it'll be fine. It doesn't happen.
Well, with the exception of your leather patch, I can say that like the structured hat I'm wearing right now from Full Views Apparel, my Subocularis hat, I have not washed this one, but I've washed many ones like it, and I'll use a dish brush with some Dawn in the sink, and then I will put it on something that is human head shaped and let it dry. That way it keeps its rigidity.
Yeah, it's just those panels in the front just get wet. I think it's just cardboard or something similar in the front, and when that gets wet and warped, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Back, so. But I have heard like washing them by hand like that is kind of the way to go if you want them to survive. So
yeah, for sure.
Other than that, cold-blooded caffeine, best coffee around. Snakes and Stogies blend. Grab you some, that and many, many, many more options. Coldbloodedcaffeine.com. Use the code SMOKE. Get you some coffee. Get you some coffee supplies to make the coffee. You won't be disappointed. Stay energized. And it is energizingly delicious. Not to be confused with magically delicious. Although it is magically delicious.
That it is.
We will see everybody later.
Bye.
It's been so long since we've heard that. We didn't have it last week. Like I was expecting Bill to maybe throw it out there at the end, and he didn't. I was like, damn.
Damn it, Billy.
Damn. Thank you all.